God is not done with me. Can you say that so I can hear you? God is not done with me. God is not done with me. God is not done with me. Can I just be honest with you? I may not look like much now, but God is not done with me. You may not think highly of yourself yet, but God is not done with you yet. Your neighbor may not be impressed with you, but God is not done with you. You may not have it all together, but God is not done with you. I understand that some folk may even look at me and feel sorry for me, but God ain't done with me. God is not done with me. And because I know God isn't done with me, go ahead and take a picture of me. Go ahead, post this on your timeline on Facebook so that in 2 years you can look back and see me now, because I won't look like this then. I won't struggle like this then. I won't have the same heartaches and the same frustrations and the same pains then. And so if you want to picture me bad, if you want to look at me while I'm down, this is your best opportunity right now. I'm trying to run. God bless you. Heaven smile up on you. You've got to know that God is not done with you yet. If we're not careful, we will think that this is the best life is going to get. We'll think that we've accomplished all that we're going to accomplish. We'll feel as if God is done with us. But I just came by to encourage somebody this morning that God is not done with you. How do you say that, Pastor? Because there's two things that's going to change in your life. I'm just right here in the text. I didn't move any further. It says here in the text, but the God of all grace, who had called us into his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. So, Pastor, how do you say that God is not done with me? Because there's, first of all, going to be a change in your scene. A change in your scene. Change in your scene. I know where I am today, but that's going to change. My scene is about to change. How do you say that, Pastor? The text starts off, but. Y'all do know what the word but is, right? But is a conjunction, is a conjunction of contrast, which means what is said before. When the word but is inserted, there is a contrast that is coming after the but. So some stuff has happened before verse 10, and it really runs back to verse number 1 of chapter 5, but we're going to cut across the field and just hop right in at verse number 6. It says, humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, and he will exalt you in due time. Cast your cares upon him, for he careth for you. He says, be sober and be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking to whom he may devour. Goes on in verse number 9 to talk about you ain't the only one struggling, that the devil is messing with all of the brethren. So what I came by to tell somebody is, first of all, that we're all having to deal with that doggone devil. Can I say that again? We're all having to deal with the devil in one fashion, in one way, in one area of our life. We're all having to deal with it. For somebody, it's in your money. For somebody, it's in your mind. For somebody, it's in your marriage. For somebody, it's in your self-esteem. For somebody, it's with you dealing with depression. For somebody, it's with your relationship with your family and friends. For somebody, it's dealing with this pain in your body. For somebody, it's dealing with this thing that happened in your life 20 years ago. We're all dealing with this doggone devil that shows up in our life. And because he is showing up in our lives, we've got some problems in our life. And so we need to know that we're not the only ones dealing with this. You see, some of the problem, part of the problem, a piece of the problem is we think that we're in this all by ourselves. Brother Brandon, do me a favor. Go to verse number I think it's 4 on there, and turn it up just a little bit on the mixer. Because if not, I'll be out of throat in about 2.5 minutes. And I got there we go. All right. We've got to have an understanding that we're not the only ones going through. The text says, but the God of all grace, who had called us into his eternal glory. The God of all grace. So that means that even though I am going through, there is a God that I have that's on my side. And that God brings grace with him. And along comes grace. He shows up in our life as a God of favor. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I seem to have lost y'all for a second. So let me define what grace is. We often hear in church grace and its cousin mercy, right? Grace is God giving us what we do not deserve. Mercy is God holding back what we do deserve. Grace and mercy, God giving us and holding back. The other morning, I was taking the kids to school and I was driving faster than I should, faster than I should. And so sure enough, the first time in a long time, I got pulled over by the police and my kids are in the back saying, Daddy, why are we getting pulled over? And I had to explain to them, Daddy was breaking the law. And because I was speeding, the police had an obligation to pull me over. And they said, well, what's going to happen? Well, you getting pulled over, what's going to happen? I said, ain't nothing going to happen. Daddy going to give them this ID, show them my insurance. They're going to write me a ticket and I'm going to pay the ticket and everything going to be fine. Ain't no issues. That's all it is. And they said, well, my daughter's trying to figure out this ticket thing. And I said, well, because Daddy broke the law, there is a penalty that I got to pay for breaking the law. The officer came up to my window and says, you saw you going fast. Is there any reason? Yeah, I'm trying to get the kids to school and hurry up so I can get back to work. And he said, now, you know that if you just would have been going to speed limit, you'd be further on down the road by now. So just go ahead and next time slow down. He said, so give me your ID, show me your insurance. And so I gave him my ID and my other concealed license. And he went to his truck and came back. And again, my daughter's still on this ticket thing. And I said, that's all right. Daddy going to pay the ticket and we're going to move on. There's no issue here. It's just Daddy got to obey the law. Daddy was wrong. And there's a penalty for not obeying the law. And so the officer came back with his little thing out for me to sign. And he said, this time, I'm just going to give you a warning. Okay. Mercy, in my mind, I understood that because I broke the law, I deserved a ticket. So I received mercy, which was him not giving me what I did deserve. And so that's what mercy is, God giving us what we don't deserve. Now that means that I did something wrong because I deserved what I did wrong. But grace, on the other hand, is God giving us what we didn't even ask for. And so the text says the God of all grace. So God is not just there when we've done wrong. Somebody ought to say amen right there. But God will show up in our life just to bless us out of nowhere. And the true reality of grace is God giving us what we did not ask for or what we do not really even need. That's why in our lives we can understand that God is the God of favor. God is the God of blessings. He is a God of goodness. So after the text says we've suffered a while, we're going to encounter a new scene. What is the new scene, Pastor Dean? It says that we've been called into his eternal glory. We've been called into his eternal glory. After we've battled a while, we will have to go through some things, but we'll appreciate being able to stand in his glory. You see, not everybody appreciates the fullness of God because they don't recognize what they have gone through before. You see, I appreciate being able to go in the room and turn on the lights, Sister Leona, because I had to experience when I turn them on, nothing happen. So I appreciate the lights coming on now because they didn't always come on. I appreciate being able to eat more than Roman noodles. I appreciate those times, the times I went through. Now that I'm not there, I can stand in a different light and recognize what God has done for us. And so when we stand in his glory, when we have been moved into his eternal glory, there are two things that we recognize. First of all, we recognize, we honor who he is. We recognize who he is. We recognize who he is. When we turn and stand and move into God's eternal glory, we are standing in the place where we recognize who God is. You see, when we live life without being mindful of who God is, I think that stuff just happened to me. When I'm not mindful and I don't recognize who God is, I just think that stuff just fall that way. It just happens that way versus God has ordained and orchestrated it that way. I recognize his power and his hand over our life, but not only do I recognize who he is, but when in his glory, we give him the honor that he deserves. You see, when you are elite, there is a different reverence that you have than everybody else. Okay, y'all looked real strange right there. Okay. Some of y'all may be old enough. There was a basketball player years and years ago named Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was a superstar, and Allen Iverson was known for not wanting to go to practice because he says, I'm a superstar. I ain't got to do like everybody else. I do my workout more than what they ever could imagine me doing. So I'm just going to show up and play, and I'm good. Because he was elite, he got some passes. There are some things he was able to do because he was just so great. He could do that. Yeah, y'all still ain't got it. Okay. When you're just so great, you could be like LeBron and say, I know I got a championship team, but I need some help because you're on a different level. Everybody thought he was crazy when he said he needed help until the summer came when they said they need some more firepower to deal with Golden State. But he was on such an elite level, he could ask for what he wanted. People thought he was crazy, but we just had to catch up to where he was because he was just that great. His mind was further along. Okay, y'all ain't basketball stars, so y'all still ain't got it. Still ain't got it. Okay. I know this. I'm pretty sure about this. That when number 4 step out on Texas Stadium, that he's not going to be treated like the third string, that he gets some other privileges. When he say, I want some water, just hold out my hand. Somebody going to put some water in that boy's hand because we need you to throw that ball. And so because he's on a different level, he can require different things. And that's what it is with God. When we are in his glory, we recognize that there is none like our God. I mean, who can make day, day? Who can make night, night? Who can make sure that it rains when it's supposed to? Who can make sure that it snows when it's supposed to? Who can make sure that when he throw the stars up on the sky that they don't fall back down? What kind of God is able to do that? He sits high, looks low, and is never out of control. We've got to understand that he deserves the honor when we are in his glory. But here it is. The reason God is not done with me is because he changes the scene until that we're now in his eternal glory, because the scene dictates the action. Yeah, the scene dictates the action. When I'm at the basketball game, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to yell, I'm going to scream, I'm going to cheer, because I'm at the basketball game. When I'm at the courtroom, I stand when the judge enters into the courtroom. And once he's seated and tells us to sit down, we sit down. At the library, I'm quiet or I whispered, because the environment, the scene dictates my action. And so what we've got to know is that when we are called into his eternal glory, that sin and self is removed. Sin and self is removed when we're called into God's eternal glory. Sin and self is removed. Isaiah chapter 6 says, I saw the Lord high and lifted up, and the train of his his train filled the temple. He began to say, woe is me, because I am a man of unclean lips. He began to remove sin. It kind of got done away with because he was in the presence of the Lord. There is something about the change of scene in our life that will make us better. Can I just tell you, there's some stuff that we do outside of church that we wouldn't dare do in church. Why? Because the scene dictates our actions. There are some places I go outside and do some things that I wouldn't dare do when I come into the house of God. We know that it's wrong out there, but it's super duper wrong in here. There's just a certain level that we just don't go past. And that's what happens when we're in his eternal glory. Some stuff we won't say anymore. Some stuff we won't do anymore. Some places we won't go anymore. Some mess we won't have anymore. Some things we won't get involved anymore, because we understand that we are in the presence of the Lord, and we wouldn't dare do certain things in front of God's presence. I know that generations have changed now, but it used to be you wouldn't do certain things in front of your parents. You may do them, but you ain't doing them in front of mama and daddy. You ain't doing it in front of grandmama. You just ain't going to do it. You're going to go outside behind a corner and do it. You just ain't going to do it in their presence. And the same respect that we had for them is the same respect we must have for God. That God, because you're everywhere, I'm just not going to do it anymore. God, I ain't gonna let you see me putting that up to my lips anymore. God, I ain't gonna let you hear me lying anymore. God, I ain't gonna let you see me creeping at 2 o'clock in the morning anymore. God, I ain't gonna let you see me doing those type of things anymore, because the scene has changed. So now my behavior has changed. We say to our lives, we say to our situation, I'm about to put this behind me. I'm about to let all this go. I'm about to move on further from this. Bye-bye, farewell, adios, arrivederci. Get up out of here, because you won't always see me like this. Just hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back. No more, no more. No more, no more. Because God is not done with me. Once I am really in his presence, you'll see a change in me. And can I tell you, that's where the change comes from. The change doesn't come from you just simply showing up on Sundays. Don't get me wrong, you ought to show up. You're supposed to show up on Sundays, and that's a step in the right direction, because I really believe it's hard to worship God during the week if you won't come and worship him on Sundays. I'm just telling you what I've learned throughout the years. Those that won't come to the church and pray have problems praying at the house. Those that won't come here and lift up holy hands, you sure enough ain't lifting them up at the house. I've just learned that throughout the years. And so once I get closer to the Lord, once I become really sold out for the Lord, once I give my all to the Lord, you'll see this change that happens in me. Oh, what a change that has come over me since Jesus has come into my life. Floods of joy fill my soul like the sweet billows roll since Jesus has come into my heart. You've got to know that there's going to be a change in me, because God is not done with me. Why is he not done with me? Because first of all, there's a change in my scene. But secondly and lastly, there's a change in my status. Not only is there a change in my scene, but there's a change in my status. God will upgrade us. The text says, but the God of all grace, who had called us into his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. The original text here, when it says that God will, after we've settled a while, God will make you perfect. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that because when you look it up in the Hebrew, it does not mean that we will be perfect. It does not mean that we'll be perfect. It literally means that God will make us perfect. Okay. Let me. It does not mean that we will just be perfect. But it means that God will make us perfect. Okay, y'all ain't got it. Y'all ain't got it. So let me explain to you. There is a difference than just being versus God simply making you that way. As a man, as a husband, there is a difference between me eating and my wife making me a plate. Y'all, when y'all may not understand that there's a different level because I just wasn't fed, but I was fed by the one who purposely did it just for me. The text didn't say that God would just have us to be perfect, but he would make us. That means that he would do it himself, that he would take you like you are and do what he needs to do to make sure that you are perfect, to make sure that you are right, to make sure that you are all that he desires and designs for you to be. He will perfect us. And that doesn't mean that we will be sinless. That just means we won't have any defects. That means that he's going to make sure that we are not defective. Every now and then we get something that's supposed to be one way, but it is not all the way right. And it just doesn't fit. There's got some issues with it. But when God perfects us, he will make us right. That means the wrong that's in your life, he's going to patch it up and make it right. That brokenness in your life, he's going to redo it and make it smooth so that you never knew that there was even a crack, there was even a fracture, that there was even a blemish there, because he's going to perfect us. He's going to make us without defect. But not only will he make us without defect, the text goes on to say that he will establish, which means to set us. That means he puts us in a certain direction. He establishes us, puts us where he wants us to be. And I don't know about you, but what kind of God would do that for somebody like us? God is not done with us, because not only will he correct the blemishes that are in our life, but then he will position us in such a way that we are ready to be used by him. He will turn us a certain way so that he can do what he wants to do in us, that he can make us the way he wants us to, and then put us where we need to be put. You see, it's one thing to be perfect, but it's another thing to be perfect in the wrong position. But God will not only perfect us, but he will position us where we're supposed to be. That means the stuff that used to bother you may not even bother you anymore, because you ain't over there worried about that anymore. You're over here where you ought to be, because over here it really doesn't matter what's going on over there, because you can't do nothing about that anyway over there. You just be over here and operate over here, and you won't worry about that, and you'll be perfect all the way over here, not even mindful of that over there. That's what God will do. Not only will he wash out and remove the blemishes, but he will set us where we need to be. But not only will he do that, the third thing says he will strengthen, which means that where we have been weak and sick, he will pour back into us the strength that we need. I don't know about you, but I need God to strengthen me, because there are times when I want to give up, times when I want to throw in the towel, times when I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired when I just won't want to deal with anybody. But if I had just a little bit more strength, I could deal with the fight that's on my plate. If I had just a little bit more strength, I could deal with the attitudes that people are coming with. If I had just a little bit more strength, maybe then I could be patient to deal with the problems that are on my plate. If I had just a little bit more strength, then maybe I can carry this load that I am carrying. If I had just a little bit more strength, then I could go just a little bit further. If I had just a little bit more strength, then I can do what needs to be done. God is not done with us, because not only will he perfect us, but he will establish us. Not only will he establish us, but he will strengthen us. But then watch this. Lastly says he will settle you, which means he grounds us. He puts us in a firm foundation. It is football season, right? And when the guys get up to the line of scrimmage, they do what? They settle themselves for the fight. They settle themselves to defend or to go forward and get. But whatever you've got to do, you've got to settle yourself. You've got to establish yourself. There has to be a foundation that you have. And why God is not done with me is because he has to settle me. When all that is going on in this world, all that's going on in our life, he has to ground us. He has to give us a foundation that says even when the wind blows, we won't tip over. Even when storms come, we won't be washed away. Even when trouble comes, we won't run away. Even when a fight comes, we won't fly away, but we'll trust that God will work it out for us in our favor. You do got to understand that the reason I don't have to run is because help is on the way. The reason I don't have to pull my hair out is because help is on the way. God is not done with us. Can I tell you that if he was done with you, he could have took you out a long time ago. If he was done with you, that sickness would have overtaken you and destroyed you and led to your demise. But because God didn't allow it to be so, hallelujah, glory to the Lamb. God bless you. Heaven smile upon you. Know that God is not done with you. He is still going to move in your life. So expect there to be a change in your scene, but not only a change in your scene, but expect there to be a change in your status. Just because problems have showed up in your life, just because issues have showed up to your address, just because tribulation and trials come tagged with your name on it, does not mean that God is done with you. But understand that it's just God moving in your life. That it's just the way God has planned it so that you could be that much better. Understand that the goodness of God does not make us stronger. That is the icing on the cake. But it is the trials that we go through that strengthens our walk and our faith and our trust and our belief in our God. So if during the tough times we hold on, we'll see God show up and show out. It's during the tough times of life that we really see what we are made of. It's easy for me to walk around right now. It's easy for me to allow everything to be okay right now, but what happens when the storm comes? What happens when tribulation comes? What happens when issues arise? What do? Do you make up your mind that you're going to run, cry, be depressed? Do you make up in your mind that you'll place everything and everybody above God? Do you make up in your mind that because some stuff has come to you, that now you've lost faith in God? I know you may say, Pastor, I'm in a horrible pit. God has not come to save me. God has not showed up to get me out. God has not provided a way of escape for me. I've been looking for God. But God, where are you? I've been searching for a change in my life. But I haven't seen God show up. I've been wanting God to move for me, but he has not moved. And I'm at the point that I really want to say, what's the purpose? Negroes keep on being Negroes. What's the purpose? Trials keep on coming up after I try. I'm tired of trying and going through all I've been going through. Well, let me tell you, my brothers and sisters, you are not alone. Story is told of a farmer who had a donkey that fell into a dried up well. And in the well, the donkey was stranded. The farmer tried and tried to get him out. But no matter how hard he tried, he could not get him out. And so he said, let's put the donkey out of his misery. He called over some family and friends to his house and said, let's fill this well so that the donkey can just go ahead and die. Let's just bury him so he doesn't have to starve to death. Family and friends, they grabbed some shovels and began to throw dirt into the well. After hours and hours of throwing dirt into the well, they looked into the well and saw the donkey. They said, how is this so? I ought not see the donkey. He ought to be buried up under the dirt. Well, they kept on throwing dirt in and dirt in and dirt in. Then the owner decided to look down into the well. And what he saw is that as they were throwing dirt up on the donkey was simply shaking the dirt off. And it was elevating him higher and higher, higher and higher. All I'm saying to you is that sooner than later, the donkey was able to jump out of the well because all of the stuff that they had thrown on him. I know that you had to deal with some stuff in your life. I know you've had to deal with some problems in your life. I know you've had some issues that have been thrown on your shoulders, and you will say, I don't know how much more I can take. Well, let me just tell you, shake that dirt off your shoulders because you'll rise just a little bit higher. It was not God's plan to allow the well to destroy you, but it was the well that would allow you to be elevated in the midst of your problems. God bless you. Heaven smile upon you. Just wanted to tell you, after all you've gone through in life, trust that God is going to get you out. Don't think that it's going to lead to your demise, but the God that we serve is able to get you out. So tell somebody today, I'm coming out. Maybe a little dirty right now, but I'm coming out. Maybe a little tired, but I'm coming out. May have been down in the pit for a while, but I'm coming out. May have had to struggle by myself, but I'm coming out. Folks may have not understood what I went through, but I'm coming out. I've made up in my mind that whatever comes upon me, I'm going to use it to elevate me. So don't allow it to lead to your destruction. Don't allow it to lead to your demise, neither to your death, but allow it to get you up out of what you're in, because God's got a way for your escape. Is there anybody in here today that know knows that God is able to get you out. Is there anybody in here today that knows that God didn't mean it to destroy you, but only to strengthen you? So expect God to allow the dirt to come on you, because that just means you're that much closer to getting out. You're that much closer to being rescued. You're that much closer to being all right. So don't worry about the pit that you're in, because help is on. It is on the way. Is there anybody in here that knows God has not forgotten about you? Know that God has seen your struggles. Know that God has seen your pain. And in the midst of it all, God's got a way for you to get out of that thing. He'll make it so that everything will be all right. So don't worry what folks say about you. Just use it to elevate you. That's what the Bible says. You'll allow your enemies to be your footstool. So I'm not worried about what people may say. Not worried about what people may do, because God I serve, He's able to get me out. He's able to deliver me. He's able to work it for my good. Is there anybody in here that really believes that? Can you just say one time with me? Yes. Preacher, I believe it. Sounded real good. Can we say it again? Can you say yeah? I sure not believe it. Can you say one last time? Yeah. I know that God, you'll do it for me. So I've made up in my mind, no more tears. I don't have to cry myself to sleep. No longer will I be mad at my enemies, but let me shake their hands. Let me congratulate them. Let me welcome them so that I can get out of where I am. Is there anybody in here today that know that God's going to do it? I've made up in my mind that God is able to fix me. God is able to restore me. God is able to bring me back to where I was. So right now in advance, I tell the Lord, thank you for all you've done. Thank you for the ways you make. Thank you for the doors you open. Thank you for how you turn it around. There's nobody like our God. He's able. Oh, able. He's able. Yes, able. He's able.